Hi, my name is Paul Fisher. I'm a member of the Laycock Art Group in Wiltshire, UK. This is my third video for YouTube. The first one was on stretching, the correct method of stretching watercolour paper. The second one was on painting fluffy puffins using what I call the water spray technique. And this one is going to be on painting a couple of crazy cows, again using the water spray technique. The puffins and the cows were demonstrations that I did at Laycock last year, and in fact this is the cow I did for them. And you can see that straight away there's a lot of movement in the painting, well, at least I think there's a lot of movement in the painting, caused by the fact that the pigments, the colours, have been allowed to move around and move outside the drawn image. The essence of using the water spray technique is that having sprayed the paper, you then simply drop the pigments, the watercolour pigments, directly from the tube onto the water, allowing them to mix and mingle themselves on the water that's already there, without too much pushing around with the brush. You tend to get cleaner colours that way, and some quite startling effects. So I've started by doing a drawing. What I tend to do is, especially with animals and cows and so forth, is to start to sculpt, get into the skull, if you like, of the animal, the lighter areas, the darker areas, and I do that to start with a pencil, so that when I start painting I know where I want my lights and where I want my darks. The equipment I'm going to use, water spray. I'm going to use a number 6 Da Vinci Maestro brush, which is big enough for this size of painting. The paper is stretched. That's quite important because we're going to be using a lot of water, and consequently if the paper is not properly stretched, it'll cockle too much. The paints I'm going to use are largely Winsor & Newton. I find them to be consistent and to have some extremely good pigments. There's 2 cows here. The left one's going to be a brown cow. The one on the right is going to be black and white. I'm going to break the video into 2 and do the brown cow to start off with, let that settle, and come back and then in the second video do the black and white one. So the colours I'm going to use on the brown cow, I'm going to start off using yellow ochre. So I start with the lights working towards the darks. Yellow ochre, followed by burnt umber. And for the burnt umber, I have 2 burnt umbers. In fact, I have 3 actually, but in this case I'm just going to use 2 from different manufacturers. Again, I love the Winsor & Newton burnt umber. It's got a lot of red in it. It's a very warm burnt umber. But I'm going to use another one by Marnier Blue, which is a bit more gritty, it's a bit darker, a bit more earthy, and gives me that slightly different tone, which I quite enjoy. I'm also going to use Schmink Sepia Brown. I've tried a lot of sepia browns and find that some of them have got a green shade within them, or a blue shade. The Schmink I find quite neutral and quite good. And then to warm up the brown on the cow, I'm going to use a bit of Winsor & Newton burnt sienna as well. Anyway, we'll get started by spraying the image. I'm not going to spray the cow on the right hand side, the black and white. I'm just going to spray the left one. Not being too cautious about it or careful. Get it so that the image is quite wet. Wet my brush, and then I'm going to start off with yellow ochre. And drop that in most areas. Just let it spread. work around the eyes. We don't want the eyes to be too white, so the fact that some of the pigment is going in there, that's perfectly okay. Thickening it up here and there where I'm going to go for a slightly darker area. So it's all a bit a mishmash of different tones from the same colour. Now, as with the previous painting with the puffins and so forth, if you find your pigment going into areas that you really don't want it to go, then you can use what I call a hungry brush, which is a clean damp brush, just to sculpt that. So clean the brush there, squeeze it out, and where I've got it going into areas I don't really want it, where there's going to be a bit of white, then I can just sculpt the paint, move it around. You won't get rid of it entirely if you want to get your whites back, but you'll get those areas nice and light again. Okay, right. And whilst that's still wet, in with the next colour, and in this case it's the Winsor & Newton Burnt Umber. Straight from the tube. And I'm just working now towards getting the dark areas darker, leaving areas which are light, just letting that spread into the yellow ochre, letting the two work together. The room is quite warm, and you can see there that some of the pigment has gone quite dry quite quickly, so we just give that another spray. And already you can see how fuzzy it's getting. Just leaving some of the areas here slightly lighter. Bring that down. You can see this burnt umber, it's the Winsor & Newton one. It's got a lot of red in it, really. It's very, very warm, very, very nice, very rich. It's a lovely colour. It's going to be a light area there on top of the snout. So where the light's catching it, light at the top of the head, so leave that there. Bring it down. Yeah, getting a little bit dry there, so quick spray. Good. Now you can see how fuzzy that's getting around there. Lovely, great. That's exactly what we want to try and achieve. You can see I'm working pretty quickly. I should have got the tops off these tubes before I started, I think. Anyway, this is the Marnie Blue Burnt Umber. It's a bit more earthy, and where I want it to be really dark, see that? That's just a little bit more, a bit deeper colour. I think it's a dirtier colour, probably not the right term to use. But for this kind of, where you want to get that sort of slight tonal change, having those two works together. You can do it just with the one burnt umber, you don't need the two at all. Leave it dry there. Okay. Put down here. See how that ear has gone? It's just lovely and fluffy. Lots and lots of movement in it. I'm just going to use a bit of hungry brush again just to move some of that out of that area here. That's got a little too intense at that point. That's okay. That there a little bit. So you can sculpt the tone. And there's our cab beginning to take shape. Sepia brown is obviously quite an intense colour. I'm just going to drop a little bit of that in around that eye. I'll come back to that again when it's all a bit dry. I'm just putting in, just starting one or two little details there, if you like, little deeper lines. The whole idea, of course, is to try and make the cow's head look three-dimensional. We're basically painting a two-dimensional painting, or it's a two-dimensional piece of paper, and trying to create the illusion of a three-dimensional animal. And we do that by tone, shading, and so forth. And of course, in a cow's head, there's an enormous amount of musculature. The skull underneath has lots of shape to it, and so we're just trying to emulate that. I normally let the bottom of the head fade away a bit because I want my focal point to be just here where we've got that eye. And now I'm going to warm up the head with a bit of burnt sienna, dropping that straight into the wet surface. And I'm going to do that mainly on the areas closest to our eye, because we want to bring those forward a little bit, make the other side a bit colder, pushing it away. Right, just going to give that a little spray, let that move a little bit around there. Good. Up there. Maybe drop a little bit more burnt sienna into that ear. Good. Now I'm going to use a hairdryer now to dry that off. Okay, so that's been given a bit of a dry. I'm going to do a bit of work now on the the snout. There's a fair amount of white in that usually, and the area around the nostrils here, around here and so forth, often has quite a lot of sort of purple into it. For that I'm going to use a bit of ultramarine, a bit of alizarin crimson. Just give it a very, very quick light spray, not too much, and just start to drop that in a little bit. Leaving some white. Blend that in a little bit over here. And straight away that's bringing that area forward. Drop a bit more water in there just to bring that out. And whilst that's nice and wet, I'm going to take a little bit of burnt umber again, just work that in. Some dark marks. Dropping in whilst it's nice and wet. Again, just working towards making this into a three-dimensional shape. Start to work on his snout. Blending that in with a bit of purple, with the purple, sorry. A bit too harsh there, so we just take some of that out, let it spread a little bit. Good. Use a bit of the sepia brown to go darker. Whilst that's drying a bit, I'm going to again use a bit of that purple I made up, which is the Alizarin Crimson Ultramarine Blue, just to do a little bit of work on the eyes. The eyeball, the eyes are round, and just trying to get that nice round shape by using lighter areas, lighter tones, and then darker. She's coming, slowly but surely. Okay, I'm going to let that dry now, and then probably tidy it up a bit here and there. I need to take out some of the colour around here, just to get a little, I've lost some of the lighter areas there, want to get those back. And then when that's done, I'll then start working on the other cow, the black and white one. So hopefully that's given you a bit of inspiration, a bit of an idea how you can use your watercolour paints in a slightly different way, not being afraid to use the water. The water's not there just as a vehicle to get your paints onto the paper. It can be used to move the paints around and explore different ways of finishing your painting. So there's our first cow. Thank you very much for watching, and join me for the next bit where we'll do the black and white one and finish it off. Good painting.